Hi everyone, I'm Jenna and this is Learn Academic English. On this channel, I help English learners take their language to a higher level, especially for school or work purposes. Today, I'm talking about grammar, and it's going to be fun because we're going to take a little test together, and I'm going to walk you through the information step by step. I've been teaching grammar for more than 20 years, and I know that when you're learning grammar of a second language, it is really challenging. You need to learn the rules and then try to apply them. And using the grammar correctly is a process of trial and error. It's normal to make mistakes. In fact, it's a good sign when you make mistakes because that means that you're using grammar that is new or difficult for you. And that means that you're taking your language up a level. But it's also helpful to take a look at what some common mistakes might be so that you can learn from them. So in today's lesson, I'm going to show you some mistakes and I'm going to ask you if you can correct them and explain why. Then we will go through each one by one. Before we do that though, I'd like to remind you to please give this video a like. Don't forget to leave a comment and let me know how you do on the test. And subscribe if you want more lessons like this one. And please note that I offer memberships on my channel. Just go to my YouTube channel and look for the join button, and that will give you connection with me every week. Okay, let's get into that test. For this grammar test, we're going to be looking at structures with errors in word form, sentence structure, verb tenses, word order, and some other issues too. So for this test, the way it works is this is error correction. I'm going to show you a few sentences. For each one, you're going to read the sentence, pause the video, then can you find the mistake? Can you correct it? And can you explain why? This is exactly like something that I would do in my class to help my grammar and writing students improve their use of language. It might be helpful for you to have a piece of paper or a computer to work on so that you can write the correct sentence. Okay, let's go to the first one. Number 1. He constantly tries to dominate the conversation. It's hard for anyone else to talk. Okay, so this might not exactly be a grammar mistake, but it is a writing and sentence structure mistake. Pause the video, take a look and see if you can find the mistake, correct it, and can you explain why? Okay, let's look at the answer. This is what's called a comma splice because over here where the comma is, that's separating two independent clauses. Each part of the sentence, each clause has a subject and a verb, but we don't combine independent clauses with a comma only. We can use one of the fanboys, a coordinating conjunction. So which one do you think we would use here? Probably so, because this sentence shows a cause-effect relationship. Another thing we could do is we could put a period and then make a new sentence, or we could also use an adverbial conjunction like therefore. That one would have different punctuation though. Another thing that we could do is to show the cause-effect relationship, we could use the word because. So let's look at that one. Because he constantly tries to dominate the conversation, it's hard for anyone else to talk. Okay, this is a complex sentence with the conjunction at the beginning of the sentence and then the comma in the middle is correct. Okay, if you want to know more about these types of sentences, I'll leave the links for those videos in the description box below. All right, let's move on to number 2. My family have taken my aunt to another country for treatment, but unfortunately she passed away. Okay, this sentence actually has two mistakes, but they are in the same place. So pause the video, write down your corrected sentence and can you explain why the sentence is wrong? All right, let's look at the answer. So the main thing here is the verb tense. The reason that the verb tense is wrong is that this is present perfect, and we cannot use the present perfect for a specific time in the past. Now, you might be thinking, well, I don't see a specific time. But because we see that she passed away, we know that the first part, taken my aunt to another country, happened before that, right? Because of that, it is considered a specific time. Now, be careful, because we can use present perfect to talk about something that happened in our life at some time before now. For example, I've been to Disneyland, or I've seen that movie 3 times. In those cases, there is no specific time. But here, because we see an indication that something happened and something else happened before that, we cannot use present perfect. So the answer is that we can either use simple past or past perfect. Now, interestingly, I think that most native speakers would opt for the first one. Most native speakers would say, my family took my aunt to another country, but unfortunately she passed away. Now, you might be thinking, well, in my grammar class, we learned that when we have one thing that happened in the past and something else that happened before that, we use past perfect for that first one, right? Past perfect. But past perfect is not actually used that often when the order of events is clear. So think about that for a moment. If you see this sentence, do you know which one happened first? My family took my aunt to another country for treatment, or she passed away. Well, of course, took her to another country happened first. She passed away, that happened second. Because the order of events is clear, we don't need to use past perfect. For that reason, most native speakers will just use simple past. Okay, a couple other small details that I do want to quickly point out. My family is singular, so if we could use present perfect, which we can't, then we would have to have the singular verb, my family has. Second, some people will want to put a comma here after unfortunately. That's fine, but it's a short sentence. We honestly don't need to put the comma here. Okay, moving on to number 3. Students are not easy to understand instructions on Zoom, so on-campus classes are a better choice. This is actually a very common mistake among English learners from some countries. I think it depends on their first language, so we would call that first language interference. I think that this depends on how they would translate it in their native language. If people see this sentence, they honestly would think that this sentence sounds strange and awkward. So this is definitely a mistake that we want to avoid because it just sounds strange in English. Okay, pause the video. Think about how we can correct the sentence, and can you explain why? Let's look at the answer. Well, the problem here is word choice, okay? We cannot use easy to describe a person in this meaning, and it should describe the action. So let's look at the sentence again. Students are not easy to understand instructions. Okay, what is not easy? Is it the students? No. What is not easy is understanding the instructions, okay? So easy describes the action. It cannot describe the subject here. Let's look at how to fix it. We can say students do not easily understand instructions. Okay, so now we're using an adverb to describe the verb. Or we could say it's not easy for students to understand instructions. It's not easy for students to understand. Another one that I did not put here is that we could make this into the subject. We could say, understanding instructions is not easy for students. Okay, let's go to the next one. Number 4. Will you mind to give me a hand with this installation? There are 2 errors in this one. So this is an intermediate grammar point. If you have learned grammar at the intermediate level, you should be able to figure this out. So pause the video, and then when you're ready, let's go to the answer. There are 2 mistakes here. The first one is that we don't say, will you mind? We say, would you mind? Would you mind? This is a conditional. Would you mind? Second, with the verb mind, we use a gerund. Now you know that some verbs take the infinitive, some verbs take the gerund, some verbs can take both. Mind, we use the gerund, okay? So would you mind giving me a hand with this installation? Would you mind helping me? Would you mind lending me a hand? Would you mind giving me a hand? And the last one is very hard for students online learning because of technology difficulties. Think about what the mistake is. Can you correct it? And can you explain it? The problem here is word order. The problem here is that the subject of the sentence is missing. The subject in English always goes before the verb, with a couple of exceptions like there are 5 people, but that's different. This is a pretty common mistake for Spanish speakers or speakers of some languages that have more flexible word order. In English, we need to put the subject here. So let's find the subject. What is very hard? Online learning. Online learning is very hard for students because of technology difficulties. Okay, so keep that in mind that we cannot start the sentence with the verb like this. We need to put the subject here. Okay, that's it for today's grammar test. Good job. Take a moment to reflect before you finish. What was easy for you and what was challenging? I hope that this grammar lesson helped you to understand a bit more about grammar. Don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know how you did on the test, and let me know if you would like to see more lessons like this one. As always, please let me know if you have questions about this video, and I hope to see you back here again next time. Take care.